Formation of present perfect tense is very easy. After has and have we use third form of the verb. And in question we take have and has at the beginning, and in negative sentences after have and has we use not plus verb 3. So the use is important, I told you. And the first use is unspecified time before now. Before now something has happened and we don't know exactly when they have happened. So we use the present perfect to say that an action happened at an unspecific time before now. The exact time is not important or is not known. You cannot use the present perfect with specific time expressions such as yesterday, 1 year ago, last week, when I was a child, when I lived in Japan, at that moment, that day, one day. As you know, these are the expressions used in simple past tense. We can use the present perfect with unspecific expressions such as ever, never, once, many times, several times, before, so far, already, yet, and just. Examples: I have seen that movie 20 times. I think I've met him once before. There have been many earthquakes in Turkey. People have traveled to the moon. People have not traveled to Mars. Have you read the book yet? Nobody has ever climbed that mountain. Has there ever been a war in the United States? Yes, there has been a war in the United States. Specified time. It's best to associate present perfect with the following topics. Experience. We use present perfect to describe our experience. It's like saying I have the experience of doing blah 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 blah. Example: I've been to England. This means I had the experience of being in England. Maybe you have been there once or several times. I've been to England 3 times. You can add the number of times at the end of the sentence. I've never been to England. This means you have never had the experience of going to England. I think I've seen that movie before. He has never traveled by train. Joanne has studied 2 foreign languages. Have you ever met him? No, I have not met him. I have never met him. I haven't met him before. Changes over time. So we talked about experience, and now changes over time. Over a period of time there are some changes. So we focus on these changes using present perfect. You have grown since the last time I saw you. The government has become more interested in arts education. Spanish has become one of the most popular courses at the university since the foreign studies program was established. My English has really improved since I moved to Manchester. And another topic is accomplishments, success. Well, use the present perfect to list the accomplishments of individuals to humanity. You cannot mention a specific time. Man has walked on the moon. Mankind, people have walked on the moon. So this is a kind of accomplishment of individuals and humanity. Our son has learned how to read. Doctors have cured many deadly diseases. Scientists have split the atom. Another topic is an uncompleted action you're expecting. We use the present perfect to say that an expected action has not happened. Using the present perfect suggests that we are still waiting for the action to happen. James has not finished his homework yet. We still expect him to finish his homework. Susan hasn't mastered Turkish, but she can communicate. Jill has still not arrived. The rain hasn't stopped. We expect it to stop. And the fifth topic is multiple actions at different times. Use the present perfect to talk about several different actions occurred in the past at different times. Present perfect suggests the process is not complete and more actions are possible. The army has attacked that city 5 times. I have had 4 quizzes and 5 tests so far this semester. We have had many major problems while working on the project. She has talked to several specialists about her problem, but nobody knows why she is sick. And let's have a look at time expressions with present perfect. As you know, we don't use simple past time expressions like yesterday, ago, last, in 1992. When we use the present perfect, it means that something has happened at some point in our lives before now. We don't know when exactly it happened. Remember, the exact time of the action is not important. Sometimes we want to limit the time we are looking in for an experience. We can do this with expressions like in the last week, in the last year, in this week, this month, so far, up to now, etc. Examples: have you been to Mexico in the last year? I've been to Mexico last year. It's wrong. We don't use last year, but we say in the last year. I've seen that movie 6 times in the last month. And we don't use last month, but in the last month. We use in the last month. They have had 3 tests in the last week. She graduated from university less than 3 years ago. She has worked for 3 different companies so far. My car has broken down 3 times this week. Notice, last year and in the last year are very different in meaning. Last year means the last year before now, and it's considered a specific time which requires simple past. In the last year means from 365 days ago until now. It's not considered a specific time, so it requires present perfect. Examples: I went to Mexico last year. I went to Mexico in the calendar year before this one. I've been to Mexico in the last year. That means I've been to Mexico at least once at some point between 365 days ago and now. So in the last 365 days I've been to Mexico. And second, use duration from the past until now. Non-continuous verbs. With non-continuous verbs and non-continuous uses of mixed verbs, we use the present perfect to show that something started in the past and has continued up to now for 5 minutes, for 2 weeks, since Tuesday are all durations which can be used in the present perfect. For example, I've had a cold for 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I had a cold and it continued up to now, so I can say I have had a cold for 2 weeks. She's been in England for 6 months. By this sentence I understand from now, 6 months ago, she went to England and she spent his life until now. 6 months passed and she's still in England. She's been in England for 6 months. She's still been in England. Mary has loved chocolate since she was a little girl. Yes, she has always eaten chocolate since her childhood. Although the above use of present perfect is normally limited to non-continuous verbs and non-continuous uses of mixed verbs, the words live live, work, teach, and study are sometimes used in this way, even though they are not non-continuous verbs.